Greetings and salutations. My name is OJ as always, and welcome to what I'm going to be calling the encore of the DBD-a-thon. For those that don't know, over the last about a month and a bit, I've been doing a video going over every single killer in Dead by Daylight from Trapper all the way up to Springtrap. That series is now finished, with me recently releasing the Springtrap video, and there was one thing I forgot to, well, I didn't forget, I intentionally didn't mention in all of them, or all of those videos, because I wanted to make it its own video, and that's going over every single MORI in Dead by Daylight and ranking them from 1 to 10. At least, like, you know, from character to character. And just for a point of reference, for once in my life, I'm actually going to be using OBS to record my gameplay footage and my audio at the same time. Unfortunately, CapCut, the studio that I use to edit my audio files or edit my videos, you can't separate the audio or like extract the audio into like CapCut just specifically on its own. So I basically am going to have two video files layered on top of each other, with one playing gameplay audio and one playing my mic audio, which is probably going to kill my PC. I'm probably going to explode. But anyways, I'm getting off track. As I just said, the point of this video is to go over every single killer MORI in the game and rate it from 1 to 10, starting with our beloved Trapper, who I do wish I had paid more attention to. Obviously that was the first video in the series, so it's not going to be like good. It will get it, like, first videos in series will always get better as time goes on. But yeah, I feel like I probably should have talked more about Trapper in a sort of other sense. Like, this dude is the face of the game, right? He deserves so much more, and that was a point that I probably should have hammered even more across in my original Trapper video. But anyways, I'm going to play as MORI, you're going to watch it, and then I'm going to rate it 1 to 10 and give my thoughts on it. And that's how it's going to go for every single killer. But with that said, Trapper's MORI looks like this. What do you think I'm going to say? What do you guys have any idea what you think I'm gonna give it, like a rating? Now I will probably have to give him some leeway. He was one of the first original MORIs, but oh my god, that is terrible, absolutely awful. No camera movement whatsoever, no sense of anything, no sense of impact, no sense of like anything. Like, let's just play it again as I talk. Like it doesn't even look like he's really pushing down on you with the foot. Like, the swings look pathetic. It's a relic of its time. I understand that. However, that doesn't stop me from saying that that is a fat 1 out of 10. But a 1 out of 10. And I will give him props, and I should, of course, mention that he does actually have a second MORI through the Naughty Bear skin, which we're also going to watch.
Now, what a naughty bear you are.
Now that is far better. Not only is there more impact on the actual hits for, you know, like the knife, but it incorporates his power. Whoa, no way. They actually used the traps in Trapper in the MORI? No, who could have seen that coming? It's a much better MORI. There's a bit more oomph to a lot of the camera movement and sort of the hits as well. And yeah, actually using the trap in the MORI, thank God, it took them long enough. But I would still say it's not like incredible, so I'd probably give it like, I don't know, a 7 out of 10? Probably a 7 out of 10. I'm doing this all kind of live, quote unquote, continuously, etc. So if I seem a bit indecisive with my numbers, please do forgive me. But anyways, the second character on our list is the WRAITH, another one of the original 3, and with a MORI just as bad. I have absolutely no idea why Jill's audio was muffled there for some reason, but hey ho, whatever. That MORI is slightly teeny tiny little bit better. Only a teeny tiny little bit. Mostly because he actually, you know, does something with the survivor. Like the grab of the leg and dragging them backwards is, it's something more. It's not a lot, but it's a little tiny bit better. The hits still feel like they have absolutely no impact, however, so I'm probably going to give it a 2, just for the leg grab. A 2 out of 10, shall we say. But next, we have the Hillbilly, who is also one of the original 3, but I think has a slightly tiny bit better Mori. But not by much. It's yeah, it's slightly better, but not by much. Because unlike the other two, admittedly you can't really do much with Wraith and showing off his power in the Mori, but still, unlike the other two, Hillbilly actually uses his power to, you know, do the Mori. So, but it's still kind of bad. Like the survivor almost just dies off screen, and yeah, it's not great. Let's be honest, it's not fantastic. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. It's weird that these are kind of going up in numbers, actually. Odd. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. You shut up. Anyways, the next is going to be the Nurse's Mori. Now, this Mori is actually a teeny tiny bit different. It feels weirdly personal in a sense. Like, I mean, she's obviously like actually choking you, and you get like the full experience of her just kind of like it. I think that kind of plays into her lore, if I remember rightly, because she used to do that to the patients when she had her little murderer spree. I think. I don't really remember her lore too much. I could just read it right now, but that's wasting time on the video. Blah 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 blah. I think the Mori is quite good. It's obviously still kind of a product of its time, but it's weirdly personal, and I like the touch of her like kind of closing the eyes. You know the thing they do in movies where they like close a person's eyes when they're dead? That's not how that works. It's really cheesy, but hey, it's weirdly personal. Like there's a kind of shred of sympathy still left in the woman to close your eyes after she's just killed you. Which, that little added bit does bump up the score of it a little bit to a 5 out of 10. I know, moving up in the world. No one's getting a 4, I hope. Kinda. Maybe. Someone might get a 4. We'll find out soon enough when my mind decides on it. But anyways, the next killer is none other than everyone's favourite, Michael Myers, who's getting his own game. I'm not making a video on that because I have a feeling that will probably die very quickly because it's made by the same people who made the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, and we all saw how that turned out, right? But anyways, enough with me blabbering. His Mori looks like this. Now, if I remember rightly, the Mori there is actually a reference to the original film. I can't remember who he does that to, but I do remember the whole like him choking someone whilst pushing the knife kind of upwards. It's weirdly brutal, and I like that the survivor tries to fight back by kind of like flailing their legs and hitting him on the shoulder. I like that. I like that sort of, I like it when the survivors kind of get to do something in a sense, when they kind of get to fight back a teeny tiny bit. Obviously not enough to do anything. It's a Mori, it's a finishing move, it's a killing blow. No shit, they're not actually gonna, you know, beat the killer, but still, I like it when they kind of fight back, and I'm probably gonna give this as well a 5 out of 10. Mostly because, although it is a decent enough reference, all he really does is stab upwards. I mean, I like the extra push that he does, but it's not like enough to push it beyond or past the barrier of a 5 for me personally. Because remember, this is all my personal opinions. I don't know how you would necessarily rank these objectively, because if you were to rank them objectively, I feel like the further you go on, the better they get, and all of the later killers would just have like 9s and 10s out of 10s, which honestly, I wouldn't be surprised that's how this video turns out. But anyways, enough with me blabbering. The next killer is the Hag, and her Mori looks like this. I'm only now realizing that I'm probably going to have to censor a lot of these in editing. I'll put some stupid images up on the screen for your viewing pleasure. I'm not just going to put like a black box over it or whatever. But Hag's Mori is surprisingly good for her age, right? Like, this killer is how many years old? 7, 8 years old or something? That's a weirdly good Mori, and surprisingly long as well. The bite to the neck is... she's obviously a cannibal, right? Everyone knows that. But the bite to the neck is like quite brutal. She kind of like flings you side to side a little bit and then rips it. And of course, she obviously, you know, digs your internal organs out. I don't even... they look to me like weird little flesh blobs. Like they're not very defined organs. They're just kind of red orbs. But still, I like the effort and I like the idea. And I think the sort of brutality and how like emphasized her, like, I like the fact that she walks away as well at the end, where she's just kind of like munching on what she's just ripped out. I like that. I think I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I do. We're bumping up in the world. We're going up. Bumping up in the world. Sorry. Next killer on the list is none other than the Doctor, or the Luxie. You may have noticed that I have 2 of the Crypt TV skins. Unfortunately, to disappoint everyone, I do not have the Huntress one. But anyways, the Doctor's Mori looks like this. Now, if they didn't include that final shot of the Doctor looking at like the burnt smoking face, I would give this a big fat 3, because I don't really like it. I think the animations on the survivors could be good if they updated them. I think the twitching is a bit stiff almost. Maybe that's the idea, but it doesn't really look like they're being electrocuted with electricity. It kind of looks like they're just shaking themselves off, minus the arms, of course, how they like clench inwards. But the bit at the end where he kind of rolls them over and looks at their eyes and the smoke coming off of their face, that is quite a cool touch. I'm quite fond of that, and I probably am going to give it a 5 as well. That's 3 5s, not back to back, but 3 5s now. And yeah, it's fine enough. I feel like he could probably do with a skin that gives him like a new Mori, akin to, say, Trap. Well, any of these lot could probably do with a skin that gives him new Mori. Besides Hag, I don't think Hag needs it personally. The Hag's Mori is surprisingly good for our age. But anyways, with that said, let's move on to everyone's favourite Leatherface and his Mori. Poor Jill. Jill's going to be going through so much shit. I am quite fond of Leatherface's Mori. I'm sure it is a reference to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, though I have never watched it. I will admit that, and that will be a recurring theme a few times with a lot of the movie horror killers. But it's a good Mori. I think it's quite good. I like the initial like hit with the hammer and how it kind of like keeps the survivor down for a little bit. And of course, the chainsaw going up through them can't be too gory because of restrictions and such, but it does look a little bit janky. But I will give him props for doing his weird like little scream. I don't even know what he does when he does that. He just kind of like makes noises. I don't know. I think it's a 6. Like many of the killers, and I'll repeat this until we stop seeing it, I do think it suffers from the fact it's a little bit old. It's a decent enough Mori. It's probably better than Hillbilly's. I mean, it's like a better version of Hillbilly's Mori. And it's just, yeah, I think it's a 6. I like the hammer hit. I like the chainsaw going into and then up out of them. And his little scream at the end always kind of makes me chuckle a little bit. But anyways, with that said, we're going to look at the Huntress in her swimsuit doing her Mori. And unfortunately, or fortunately for all of us, she just flashed us. Looks like we're gonna have to censor two things at once. But Huntress's Mori is pretty decent. I've always kind of wished that she used her hatchet, like at some point, like maybe as like the beginning of the Mori, it shows the survivor kind of like walking away, and then she throws the hatchet, they fall down to the ground, and then she does it as normal. But otherwise, it's, you know, it's fine. She kind of just hits you in the face and then hits you 2 more times. It's a fine enough Mori. It's nothing super duper special, which you, as to probably no one's surprise, puts it right down the middle of the road, which I'm going to give it a 5. I do think it loses the points because, you know, it doesn't, use her hatchets, well, those things that she's holding. But yeah, it's fine enough. It's nothing special. They're decent. I just wish it used the hatchets. But anyways, with that said, we move on to Low Tier God, also known as Freddy Krueger. I'm gonna be real. That Mori sucks ass. That Mori is so damn bad. It's just so bad. Like, he stands there, flicks out his claw, and then the survivor just gets up and looks around like, huh? Where is he? Like, what do you mean, where is he? Like, it just looks stupid. Like, the survivor just looks really dumb during it, like, looking around. I mean, the actual impact of the hit is fine. The amount of blood that kind of, like, goes all over the screen, it's decent enough. But then again, the scream that the survivor lets out is weirdly echoey, and that just kind of sounds a bit stupid. I don't like his Mori whatsoever, and I'm going to give it a 3. And it only gets a 3 because, you know, the actual impact of it is, you know, fine enough, but the rest of it just makes me giggle, and I'm not very fond of it. With that said, move on to the pig and her Mori. Now, this is another Mori where I really don't care for it, don't like it at all. I kind of get what they're going for, like with the survivor putting their hand up to block her attack, but it just looks a bit pathetic. I don't know, it just looks a bit bad. She stabs you in the hand and then she slices you across the neck. Whoop-de-doo. You're from Saw. Couldn't the, like, thingy include anything? Like, that could have been a killer's, like, that could have been anyone's Mori. Like, I'm sorry, you made that the Mori for the Legion or something. Like, that, it just doesn't scream or tell me anything about the pig at all. I think it would have been funny to have Billy ride on his little tricycle during the Mori, just as a little thingy at the end or something. The Mori is not very good, especially considering it's licensed, and there is potential with the pig and her Mori. There could have been something cool there, but yeah, no, they didn't do anything. Same really goes for Freddy. They could have done something cool, but they didn't. I'm going to give it, again, a 3. Because it, you know, it has, I like that the survivor kind of resists a little bit, but it's still not enough for me. With that said, let's move on to the clown. I don't know what skin I have on. Oh, okay, that one. And his Mori, which looks like this. It's absolutely gross, and I really, really like it. I find it interesting that he kills the survivor within, like, the first 3 seconds. Like, you hear, I like the sound effect of hearing, like, the neck kind of click. Like, the survivor's long dead, but it just keeps going as it shows him cutting off the finger and then like, tasting it, and then putting it on his, like, little hip keychain of fingers, and it's gross. It's very fitting for the clown and all of his history and stuff, and his lore, etc. I'm going to give it our first 7 out of 10. Yeah, I like it. It's pretty good, and although it's simple and there isn't, like, much gore or anything, it really works and really fits the clown off of, like, his personality and the such. But anyways, with that said, we move on to the spirit, whose Mori looks like this. I think the Spirit's Mori is relatively okay. It's obviously better than the previous ones, or like the older characters, but I don't know, I feel like it's missing something, and I'm not really sure what. She kind of flickers a little bit. I feel like that might be what's missing, like the fact that she kind of flickers more. She doesn't flicker in and out of existence more. Like, she does it to appear behind them and stab them, and I like the sort of brutality in how she slashes them on the ground. Like, there is pure anger and rage in those swings, and the scream at the end is fun enough, but it's better than, you know, the ones that have come before, but, well, not better than all of the ones that have come before, but you get the idea. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. I can't really give it lower. It's not middle of the road. It's better than, say, Huntress, but I feel like there's something missing and kind of like holding it back from getting like an 8 or a 9, and I'm not sure what that is, but I'm sure someone will give me an idea. I'm sure someone in the comments would let me know. Anyways, we move on to the to the Legion and their pink bunny suit. Now, I really like the Legion's Mori. As I mentioned earlier, literally about probably 3 minutes ago, Pig's Mori has this sort of sense that the survivor is trying to fight back, and I feel like the Legion really does capitalize on it. Like, not only does the survivor kind of put their arm up to block the first stab, but they also push the Legion away, and the Legion kind of has to put in the effort to drag them back to him, and then, you know, like, stab him in the stomach and then pull down. Like, there's a real brutal, like, kind of oomph to the way they drag the knife down. Like, they actually, the Legion have to kind of like put in the effort to drag the knife. Like, they can't just do it naturally. I really like that. I really like that there's kind of a sense of a back and forth between the survivor and, you know, the Legion. And I'm gonna give it our first, I think, 8 out of 10 for the video. I like the back and forth a lot. I like that the Legion kind of has to put in some effort to get their kills, and it makes sense considering they're basically just teenagers with knives. Obviously, everyone knows that the entity kind of boosts their strength a little bit, but the fact that they have to put in the effort to secure their kills still goes to show that these are, you know, like teenagers with knives. They're not super duper strong. But anyways, with that said, we move on to the Plague, and her Mori looks like this. I probably should have given a warning for anyone who doesn't like vomit. I do apologize for that, but I feel like that should really be expected with the Plague at this point. I think Mori's a little disappointing, in my opinion. Like, I like the beginning part where she says something. I don't know what she says. I presume it's a chant in whatever language she speaks originally. But, you know, like, the beginning part's cool. And I like the sort of build up to her then throwing up. Like, you can see her kind of hunch forward and then it comes out. I just don't really like, it's kind of just a spray of green. I think what would have worked better is her like puking the corrupt purge up and it like burns off the survivor's face or something. I feel like, you know how like, we'll get to Singularity eventually. I'm going to have to censor the face on it. But like when Singularity does his, that shows the survivor's face kind of melted off, and I feel like that effect could have been applied to the Plague if she say throw up the corrupt purge, and that would have made the like Mori a little bit better. It's still fine enough, and I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I think the only reason I'm not giving her a 5 is because I like the Plague a lot. I would argue she's in like my top 5 favorite original killers, which, yeah, I keep saying, oh, this character's in my top 3, and I eventually realize, oh shit, I've put like 5 people in my top 3. I might need to turn it into a top 5. But anyways, with that said, we move on to Ghostface and his Mori. Absolutely iconic. Just iconic in every sense of the word. The actual kill itself isn't anything too crazy, you know, it's just a couple stabs and then a big stab on the back. But I mean, come on, man. him pulling out his little camera and then taking a selfie with the survivor's dead face and the blood kind of coming out of their mouth. It's just too good. It's iconic. It fits this version of Ghostface so unbelievably well. Like, it's so damn good. I'm sure some of you remember, but it did actually inspire a trend. Like, that's how good this Mori is. And I am going to give it our first 10 out of 10. Yes, I know. Well done. Well done, Ghostface. You got a 10 out of 10. I just think the camera, like the selfie thing is so perfect. Like, it works so well. The actual kill itself, as I said, isn't really anything crazy, but the selfie. Come on, man. It's a selfie. Come on. It's a selfie. How can you not like it? It's awesome. But anyways, with that said, we move on to the Demogorgon, and its Mori looks like this. Now, I really like the Demogorgon's Mori. I think it's cool. I think it works well for this sort of, like, you know, alien-esque predator, apex predator being. I like that when it grabs the person's head with its mouth, its like weird flower mouth, the screams of the survivor are muffled, usually. I think that's a really cool, like, little neat addition. And the fact that it just, you know, kills you by flinging you around like a rabid animal, that works. It really works for the Demogorgon. And yeah, I like it a lot. And I like its little weird scream at the end where it kind of puts its hand on your face and just establishes its dominance. Yes, I know, you're establishing your dominance as we speak. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I like it quite a lot, and it really works for the Demogorgon and all the things it's trying to achieve. But anyways, with that said, we move on to the Oni, whose Mori looks as such. Well, okay, maybe not the Oni, maybe the Armor Titan, whose Mori looks as such. Yeah, the Oni's Mori is really good. It's really good. I love the fact that he kind of just rips your tongue out, and you can see that they actually modeled a tongue. It works obviously in his lore, because he would do that. He would rip out the tongues of those who called him an Oni. But actually seeing him doing it, you can see the tongue in his hand before he just squishes it, and the oomph, like the sheer heft of the club just coming down on the survivor mid-scream. Like, it's just, there's a lot of impact there, and I really do like it. And I think, again, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Very fond of it. And with that said, we move on to the DEATHSLINGER, whose Mori looks as such. Really good. Really damn good. It's simple, but shooting the spear through the mouth, through the back, it's really good. It's a bit simple for my taste. It is genuinely just that one shot, and then you call it a day, and he just reels it back in. But it really works. I like the sound work on the DEATHSLINGER and his gun. Like, there's a lot of kind of cling. I'm going to emphasize this a lot across a lot of different killers, but there's a lot of oomph behind the actual shot of the DEATHSLINGER's rifle, and the Redeemer, I believe that's the name of it. And yeah, I remember seeing one clip. It was a clip where it was like, okay, I guess I didn't want to save him, and it's some survivor running into a room, and you just see the DEATHSLINGER propping a guy up on the gun, and you just hear that bang. That's all I think of every single time I see his Mori. It's really good. I like it a lot, though it is obviously a bit simple. It is just that one shot per se. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I know. I believe that's not... No, it's not our first. Clown was a 7 out of 10 as well. But yeah, I like it a lot. And with that said, we move on to Pyramid Head and his Mori. Or its. Now, I do like this Mori. I do like it a lot. I like the beginning part of it. The weird barbed wire rusted metal thing that kind of wraps around the survivor and like crushes their body, and you can see that their body's crushed, like their legs are crossing, their arms are squished in. I do really like that. I just think what he does afterwards is a bit like the stab in the chest and then you twist the knife, like that would hurt like hell. That would hurt like all hell. I understand that, and it looks fun enough, but what if he cut him in half? What if he just did like a big swing across the middle, and then when the metal thing falls apart, they fall into two? That would be really cool. I would really like that, but I know behavior doesn't really like to show dismemberment per se. And yeah, I think it could be better, but I still like the bit where he like crushes you in the metal barbed wire thingy majig. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 again. That's 2 in a row. And with that said, we move on to, okay, not the Blight, but William Birkin, who is unfortunately being cut off the screen due to how my monitor works. Whose MORI looks like such. Now, this MORI has a lot of potential. This is the potential man of MORIs. I do like the idea. I really, really do. I like the idea of injecting them with the Blight serum, and then they kind of... He's going to be screaming a lot. I like the idea of injecting them with the Blight serum, and then the bubbles kind of appear, and then he like, you know, he like pops the big bubble. But come on, man. I feel like you could have probably done a little bit more with the actual infection part. Like, it's just like a big bubble that appears on the chest, and then he like smacks it. The Blight has a lot of potential with his MORI, like with how the serum works, and they just don't really capitalize on it, and it kind of upsets me a lot. So I am going to give the Blight's MORI a 6 out of 10 because I can see the potential, but it's not capitalized upon, and it is just orange bubble grow out of chest and then one smack. It's just not good enough. I'm gonna be completely real, at least in my opinion, of course. But anyways, with that said, we move on to the twins. I don't remember which one is which, so we're gonna do Victor's MORI because I believe that's the one with Victor's in it. I'm only gonna rate the one with Victor in it. It's okay. It's whatever. Like like Charlotte. I don't remember how to say it. It's Charlotte, but like there's a French spin you have to put on it. All she does is like hit them twice, okay, and then Victor just then smacks them a few times and then eats their neck. I don't know. I do like that Victor kind of looks up and down at Charlotte a few times, like as if to say, "Oh, can I really?" I like that. That's kind of cool. But the actual MORI, it doesn't really. You don't really do anything. Like, it's whatever. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. I don't really like it, and it's just another disappointment with the twins outside of their lore. But you didn't hear that from me. Sorry. Anyways, we move on to the Trickster and his MORI, which looks as such. For some reason, it took a while to load back into the game. I like the MORI. It works very, very well for him. And, you know, I'm going to be real. Although I think, like, him throwing all the knives is fine, whatever. I think it's, again, the final impact that kind of works for me. I like that he throws, like, an autographed picture of himself onto your body. And then one last kunai falls down on top of, onto, like, where the picture is. That's a really neat detail. I like it a lot. But, I don't know, the knives don't really feel like they have much of an impact. I mean, they don't really feel like they've got much of an impact in gameplay wise, so I guess it's fitting, but still, I feel like the knives need a bit more, I'm going to say the word again, a bit more oomph. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I do think the ending bit with the like, signed picture of himself adds, like, extra points onto the score, but yeah, we're going to give it or I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. And with that said, we move on to a personal favourite of mine, my beloved Nemesis. And because I'm doing it on Jill, we get that little bit where he goes, stores. I like that. I like that he has a special line when killing like Jill or Chris in his Mori. I like that a lot. But yeah, I think the Mori is fine enough, but with a lot of Nemesis, I feel like it loses in the adaptation front. I do like the kind of, I really like how heavy it feels though. I will give it that. I like how when he throws you to the ground, you hear like a heavy ass thump. And although he technically kills you off screen with the foot stomp, they put enough like effort into making that foot like sound like it just crushed, I don't even know what. Like the foot comes down like a freight train. And I like that he kind of grinds his, like, he kind of grinds the foot a little bit just to, you know, put in the oomph to squish you a little bit more even when you're already down. It's fun enough. It's, again, like a lot of him, missing out and not very well adapted. Personally. Just personally, of course. I made an entire video on how I feel about his adaptation in a, or yeah, how I feel about how he's adapted into the fog. So if you want to know my true thoughts on that, you can go watch that. But anyways, with that said, oh, actually, I didn't even give it a score. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It's fun enough. It's good. I just feel like it's, you know, like much of Nemesis, missing out on the adaptation front. Though it is kind of heavy carried by that foot stomp at the end and how he grinds his boot. But anyways, with that said, we move on to Pinhead and his Mori, which looks like this. I've always laughed at how the scream gets cut off at the end. This Mori is very, very good. I like how the chains kind of, you can see the chains like pulling at the skin, especially on the bit where they scream and, you know, you see their face, you see the cheeks just pulled out. And he doesn't necessarily kill them, quite interestingly. He instead just attaches them to a weird sort of pole of wood with spikes and stuff on it, and then sends them to another realm. Like, that's really cool. I like that he doesn't necessarily kill them, but instead sends them to a place where he'll show them the sights of pain and pleasure. Yeah, usual Pinhead stuff. So I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. I really like it. And I, of course, like his voice lines where he's like, we have such sights to show you. Like, the voice lines always help when it comes to making a Mori really work. But anyways, with that said, we move on to the artist, whose Mori looks as such. Now, I mentioned this in my video on the artist, but oh my god, this is probably the Mori I would want to be affected by the least. I don't know why I have this weird, like, out there fear of ink. Not like ink in general, but like swallowing ink. I can't even imagine what that's like tastes like or feels like. It just grosses me out to no end. And the artist is like the encompass of that fear. I like that she obviously, you know, forces ink down their throats, and then it causes, like, you know, one of her crows to explode out of them. I think that's, it looks really cool. And I like that at the end, you know, all the little birds show up and start pecking at the dead body. It really, really works for the artist, and it is really brutal. And yeah, I like it. I really do. Even if, of all of the Moris in the game, this is the one I don't want to be involved in at all. I do not want anything to do with it. So, pardon me, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. 2 in a row. I really, really like it. But with that said, we move on to Sadako, or the Onryo, with a Mori that looks as such. I like it. As I'm sure many of you know, it obviously changes depending on what skin you're wearing. So say if you're wearing the normal one, it's her eye looking down, whereas with this skin that I'm wearing currently, it's her weird, like, odd, weird flower pupil thingamajig. But the actual kill itself is, you know, iconic. She makes your body twist and contort. And I like that the survivor is still kind of convulsing at the end, and you can actually see the bone sticking out of their arm. Like, that's a really cool addition to it. Yeah, I like it. I like it. I'm going to probably give it an 8 out of 10. You'll notice, as I said earlier, the longer we go into this, the better the killers get in terms of Moris, and the higher the scores will get. It's just kind of the nature of games like this. And yeah, I like Onryo's Mori. I like Sadako's Mori. It looks really good. It's simple, but iconic. And I would probably... The reason why it's not like a 10 out of 10 or whatever is probably because, you know, it is literally just break an arm, break a leg. Like, she's made those two phrases come to reality, I suppose. But yeah, anyways, we move on to the Dredge, whose Mori looks as such. I like the Dredge. I really, really like the Dredge. I say with a big ass smile on my face. I really like how his Mori is shown off. I like that there's a bunch of hands all kind of using different tools and stuff to kind of stab at the survivor and wear them down until those weird crab, like claws, crab leg looking things kind of just sprout out and drag the survivor in. He kind of has to put in the effort to get the kill, but it's almost, he does it in a way that feels effortless. Like, he could easily do this to every survivor he meets. He could just go up to them, stab them a bunch, and then just suck them into his own body. Because, yeah, I really like that he sucks them into his body. Like, that implies that they're just being added to the pile of humans that is the Dredge, the otherworldly being that is the Dredge. It really works for him. I like it a lot. Though I do wish, obviously, it was a bit more... It had a bit more impact. As per usual, impact does help a lot of these. And a lot of the stabs that is performed, like all the little stabs, I get the idea, it's meant to be, you know, a bunch of little stabs, but they do kind of lack anything. They are just literally little stabs. His smack with the hand is good though. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I like it enough, but there are a tiny few things that hold it back. Anyways, with that said, we move on to Albert Wesker, whose Mori looks as such. What a dickhead. He's such a dick. I love Wesker so much. As I mentioned earlier, I like it when the survivors fight back a bit, and what's more than fighting back than punching the dude you're fighting in the face? I like that he gets punched in the face and just has this big grin on his... Like the glasses fly off, that's hilarious. But he has this like big grin on his face. He's like, oh, you punched me, did you? Alright, I'll show you what a punch is. And then he proceeds to just obliterate you with Ouroboros. Like, it just works really well. And just the little cherry on top is that at the end, he just puts on another pair of sunglasses. Where did he even get them from? It just fits Wesker so well. And he also does have a unique line when killing Chris, which it's always like an extra cherry on top. This is probably our second 10 out of 10. Yes, well done, Wesker. Well done. You are the best. You are the best in the world. It's just too funny. It's too good. Like, what else am I meant to say? It's got everything you would want. Impact, the survivor fighting back, and some hilarious cherries on top. But with that said, we move on to the Knight, whose Mori looks as such. The Knight's Mori is probably one of the most brutal in the game. I like that his guards are incorporated into it. I would be very disappointed if they weren't. I like that they all kind of get a turn to do something. A stab, then they burn, and then like the fat one kind of just literally just completely splits them like from the shoulder downwards. Like them all getting the turn is really neat. But what the Knight does at the end, where he like shoves the sword down into the ribcage and then rips it out. Wow, that's brutal. That's like brutal. I gotta give it. That's really good. And I'm going to give the Knight a 9 out of 10. Really like it. I really like how each of the Knight or guards get a turn, and I like the final just rip of the sword. Just like there's a lot of power behind that. It really works for him. With that said, we move on to the Skull Merchant, whose Mori looks as such. Now, this Mori has a lot of similarities to Freddy. I'm sure you've heard that many, many, many times before. The idea of the survivor looking around confused, they sneak up on them and then stab them through the chest. I think Soul Merchant does it a little bit better. I just, still, why is the survivor confused? The drone doesn't really do much in the Mori besides float around and then scan the dead body. Like, sure. I like the shot of the, okay, how do I put this without sounding odd? I like the shot of the feet. I like the shot of just showing that the survivor is being lifted up off the ground, because, like, Skull Merchant's weirdly tall, and I am weirdly attracted to that, but we're gonna move past that for my sake. But the actual Mori itself, it's just not great. It's just not good at all. Well, not good at all, but it's just not great. I'm gonna give it a 5. It's better than Freddy's, clearly, but it's similar to Freddy's, and what did Freddy get, like a 3? Yeah, nah, it's just, it's not good enough. I feel like more could have been done. What could have been done? I'm not sure, but still. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. And with that said, we move on to the man I'm probably going to have to censor. Definitely going to have to censor. My beloved, the Singularity. See, Singularity is probably like the first one where there was a really brutal display of like gore, quote unquote. At least I would think so. We just literally gone over them. Like, I would say it's a proper display. I really love the Singularities. I like his voice lines that he usually says, that it will be fast, possibly painless. I like the fact that he leaves the clause of possibly painless, as he then proceeds to, I don't know, explode your face off? Like, that's great. It looks really good. And of course, I mean, I'm gonna have to censor it so you won't be able to see it, but the face after it's been exploded off, weirdly gross. Like, it's weirdly realistic. Like, it looks disgusting, and it really, really works. I'm going to give this our third 10 out of 10. Yes, well done, Hux. You're the best to ever do it. I really like it a lot. I like the actual display of gore for once, unlike, say, previous killers who kind of had to hide it in a sense. It really works for Singularity. I like his voice line, and yeah, again, he explodes your face off. That's awesome. But with that said, we move on to the Xenomorph. I believe the alien, okay, yeah, it's just the normal one. I was curious if I had the Queen on. I do actually own that skin. Again, another display of actual gore that I'm gonna have to censor, so you won't be able to see it, unfortunately. Iconic. This is iconic. Just unbelievable. You know, I'm giving out the rating right now. 10 out of 10. What else do you want me to say? It's iconic for all the right reasons. I believe it's directly from the first Alien film, but even if it isn't, even if I'm wrong, it's iconic. Just the look on the survivor's face, the look of pure fear as the Xenomorph opens its mouth to show its second mouth, just then to just go straight through their head. Unbelievable. Absolutely fantastic. Perfect, even. I'm giving this a fat 10 out of 10. Yes, I'm saying it twice because it's that good and that iconic. What else do you want me to say? It's the Xenomorph. It's the alien. It's that thing. Like, it's iconic, just like the rest of this creature. But with that said, we move on to Chucky, whose Mori looks as such. Just, again, another perfect Mori. I'm going to be completely honest. I love the beginning of it. I've always gotten a chuckle out of how the hammer just kind of flies out of thin air and hits you in the head. Like, and the way his head swivels and then stops and he starts laughing. And he just literally hits you with everything he has. Like, a baseball bat that comes out of nowhere. Smack. Then he pulls out a ruler. Where did he even get that from? God only knows. And then he pulls out his knife. And I like that at the end, he does the little, like, kick to your body. It's like a really pathetic, just little, a little right next to your body. It makes me giggle. I really like it. And of course, he always throws in a quippy voice line where he takes the piss out of you. Perfect. 10 out of 10. Perfectly depicts Chucky. It's brutal. It's just hilarious. Perfect for Chucky. Everything about Chucky and his inclusion into this game just is unbelievable. Perfect. Even if, of course, people don't like his gameplay because, you know, dash slop. I understand that. I completely get it. But anyways, we move on to my beloved, my oh so beloved, the Unknown. Who's Mori? Yeah, whose works on them. I was going to say their Mori. It's Mori. You get what I mean. It's Mori looks as such. And just like the rest of this killer, perfect. What did you expect? It's perfect. I love the beginning of it though. I really, really love the beginning, where you see the Unknown in the background just twist and contort itself to be on all fours, but upside down at the same time. Like its back is facing the ground, its chest is upwards, its head is facing you, and its legs and arms are twisted in all sorts of fashions to run across the floor on all fours. It's unbelievably creepy. The animation work when it turns around though, like it turns its body like to then be facing you, unbelievably cool. And I like the tentacles that sprout out of its back. I like that we kind of get a hint of how it absorbs these people and how it like takes on their voices and the such through those weird tentacles that sprout out of its back through, you know, this weird thing. It's like a mouth. Yeah, it's like a third mouth. Third mouth? Where's the second one? People only have one mouth. Am I stupid? Anyways, you get what I mean. Yeah, it's just perfect. Fits the Unknown to a T. I like that we get a little bit of oomph, or a little bit of, I gotta stop saying that word, a little bit of insight into how it actually takes on these people's appearances. 10 out of 10. Did you expect anything less for the Unknown? It's the Unknown. The Unknown's a 10 out of 10 killer across the board. When has it ever not been a 10 out of 10 killer? But anyways, we move on to the final four, starting with VECNA. Final four? Nope, forgot SPRINGTRAP's all the way at the top, right? Yeah, okay. So final five. VECNA's Mori looks as such. Another one that I'm going to have to censor because that is literally a skeleton. It works. I like VECNA's Mori quite a bit. As I've said before, I don't really feel anything for this killer. I'm sure people have seen the video on VECNA. I don't feel much for him at all. Not a Dungeons and Dragons fan whatsoever. Well, not in a negative way. I didn't get that type of autism, unfortunately. But I like it. I like the Mori. I like that his skeletons kind of just hold you up and move you towards him. I like the shot of him kind of beckoning you forward. And then when the skeletons eventually, you know, rip all of your skin off, you actually get to see the skeleton. Like that's a skeleton. That's a bug. I like that there's a sort of hollowed out eyeball left in the skeleton skull as well. Like the actual display of a skeleton is, you know, quite a groundbreaking thing for this game. At least I think so. Like an actual skeleton model for the survivors? Yeah, probably. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. But has there been anyone with under a 5 so far? Like, in these more recent killers? I don't think so. Anyways, with that said, move on to Dracula. And his Mori looks as such. I like it a lot. I really, really do. It feels like it fits this version of Dracula quite a lot. Someone who sees himself as a superior being to humans in every sense of the word. And so, you see, like, I had a commenter point out on my video on Dracula about how he isn't necessarily the blood-sucking type. So, for him to then instead slice at your neck and summon a wine glass out of thin air to then drink, like, kind of capture your blood and then drink it from the wine glass, That just that really works. It's so cocky. It's like a nonchalant cockiness. That's the best way I can put it. He knows he's better than you, but he's not going to brag about it. He's just going to show it in a subtle fashion. I like it a lot. I love how he drinks the blood from a wine glass and then tosses it aside as just like that. I like it a lot. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's pretty simple. You know, all it is a neck swipe, then drink blood out of a wine glass, but that drinking out of the wine glass is so damn good, it gets a huge bump in points. But anyways, with that said, we move on to Houndmaster, who is another Mori I'm probably going to have to censor, but said Mori looks as such.
You're a boy, a sore, everything that irritates me.
I like it. It's when you actually like break it down, it is literally just dog does a little bit of, you know, shaking and then she stomps on your face a few times. But I like the kind of camera work on it. I like that the dog kind of flies in from off screen to grab the survivor first. I like that she kind of hits her cane to, you know, get snug to stop. And she does actually have, I don't know how many voice lines she has, but she does have voice lines during her Mori where she just calls people like an eyesore or disgusting and then proceeds to, you know, obliterate their face in 3 stomps. Like, damn, this woman got some powerful legs. 3 stomps, and that's all it took to make their face explode? Damn. Like, I like it. I like it a lot. And I like that when she removes her foot, you can kind of see sort of bits of skin kind of stick to the bottom of her shoe. That's really good. That's a really, really tiny, it's like a tiny addition, but it's really, really good. But anyways, with that said, we move on to Mr. Screaming himself, Mr. Controversy himself, that being KANEKI, whose Mori looks as such. Really, really good. Like, really good. Another one I'm going to have to censor because of the, you know, rip that he does to the stomach, but yeah, it really, really works. I know ghouls have to eat human flesh to keep going, and I really love how he does the initial kind of, he holds you up with his, what they called kagune, and I like that he then licks, like the bit where he like licks your blood and then starts like tweaking. That's really cool. I like that there's like a shadow around him, like there's a darkness around his face to focus in on him kind of tweaking out. And then obviously he does the funny finger click and then just launches himself at you, rips you to shreds and eats probably God knows how much of you. It really is brutal, really gross, and I love it. I love it a lot. KANEKI is getting yet another 10 out of 10. I love it. I love his Mori. And, you know, whilst we're still here, let's do the other. It's only slightly varied, right? I've only now realized I forgot to do Huntress's other Mori. We'll go to that in a minute. The Mori for RIZE is ever so slightly different. I think it's worth showing. Also a 10 out of 10, like quite easily. But I love that the Mori is, you know, slightly different. I love that her positioning at the beginning when she's holding you up with the kagune, she has her arms folded across like her chest, or not her chest, like her waist. I like that. And I like that obviously the animation of her licking the blood and then wiping said blood off of her face is different. And of course her bit where she like tweaks out is also different. She doesn't do the finger click because KANEKI never did that. And instead of putting her hands over like her face, she kind of puts them at the side. I don't know. I really like that she has a different Mori. Probably makes her one of the most valuable legendaries in the whole game. And speaking of valuable legendaries, and seeing as we need to go up here to talk about my beloved, let's look at Huntresses. I don't know why I completely forgot about it, but hey ho. And this is the WERE-ELK. I forgot that was the name of it. Its Mori looks as such. Now, I'll be honest, it is a good Mori, do not get me wrong, but I feel like it's a bit slow. A lot of the movements are very deliberate. Like the bit where it kind of lingers before the WERE-ELK picks you up is very slow. However, I will give it props. I do like the bit where it like sniffs your neck and then suddenly, you know, just gets really angry and then throws you about on its antlers. The intestines kind of resting on the antlers is a really cool touch. But no, it just feels really slow. Like, not in a cool way. Like, the delay before the pickup is just kind of awkward. It's like awkward, like, it's an awkward gap for no reason. I'm gonna probably give it an 8 out of 10. It's still very good, just not as, it's just a bit too slow. But anyways, lest I be forgetting something, I know Dracula has a second Mori. I don't remember how, okay, there we go. Right, you know, just let's get this. Damn, I never really seen this skin before. That's crazy. Yeah, this skin also has a different Mori, and you know, might as well worth checking out. Remember, normal Dracula is a 9 out of 10, and yeah, this Mori looks as such. Wow, I've never actually seen this Mori before. That was weirdly brutal. I like the bit at the beginning where it shows like the survivors like looking at both of whatever these things are, like these weird like appendant. What even are these? The weird little faces. I like that bit where they're looking at those, scared out of their mind, and then he just like very brutally just screams and then picks them up and just. Like, these things go to town, these things go to town, and then he rips out your spine? Like, damn, okay. Get angry with it, my gang. Like, what the hell? I like it. I really like that Mori. I'm probably going to give that a 9 out of 10 as well. Whereas normal Dracula has a more refined, you know, normal, upper class feel to it. This Dracula is just unbelievably brutal. I really like that Mori, actually. Might have to censor it. I'm not sure. But, yeah, I think that's every visceral skin, lest I be forgetting one. I'm sure someone will remind me if I forget it. And if they do remind me, I'll give my rating on it in the comments, etc. But the final character in this video is my beloved Springtrap, who technically does actually have 3 Moris. Yes, I'm going to include the yellow rabbit one. And his normal Mori looks as such. Perfect. Perfect. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. I'm not even going to debate it. 10 out of 10. Perfect. I have no idea what that animatronic is. I believe it's something given to him by the entity. Like that weird buzzsaw animatronic that he kind of shoves you into. I believe there's something given to him by the entity to get kills better. Or something like that. I don't remember the actual explanation for it, but it really works. I like his little line where he makes fun of you. Like in that one, I'm obviously going to lower the audio sound of, you know, the game itself just so you can hear my beautiful voice. But in that, he said, "No one is here to help you now." Like, I like that. I like that he takes the piss out of you before he then, you know, kills you. And of course, jump scare at the end. Giggled. I like it. It's really funny. I really love his jump scares. Yeah, his Springtrap's Mori is an easy 10 out of 10. What do you want me to say? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now we move on to GLITCHTRAP, who, if you can believe it, does actually have a different Mori. I mentioned that in my Springtrap video, but you get what I mean. Instead of, you know, making a mocking quip your way, GLITCHTRAP instead just, you know, giggles in his weird glitchy tone. And instead of screaming at you, he does his little, like, hush thing where he does his little, like, shh. I really like that. I like that his Mori is different. Not super duper different like RIZE's one is, but I like it. And now he won't let me turn him around. That actually just scared the shit out of me. Oh my god. I just got actually jump scared in real time. I'm gonna cry myself to sleep now. No wonder I couldn't turn around. He was gonna jump scare me. Dickhead. Anyway, you just watch me get jump scared in real time. Anyways, the final alternate Mori person. Why is he cut off as well? The final alternate Mori of the video is going to be the yellow rabbit, aka oh, I forgot his name. That's really bad. I actually forgot the actor's name. Shaggy. Well, let's go with that. Yeah, Shaggy. I forgot his name. Anyways, his Mori looks as such. Never not gonna be funny. It's never ever not gonna be funny to me. Like, not only does he say a different voice line, but of course he does the white mad jump scare, and it makes me giggle quite a lot. Yeah, it's also 10 out of 10, just like Springtraps was. It's all off. They're all based off the same principles, or the same initial base Mori. You get what I'm trying to say. I like him a lot. He's got to stop screaming though. Yeah, that is what I think of every single Mori in the game. Ranked every single one of them, got all of the scores, and yeah, the Moris in the game are good. I would argue that once we reach like clown, then they're just a net like positive. Like the only bad Moris I'd say we've had in like 5 years, like Skull Merchant and Twins. Them two are the only ones who have like bad Moris from like clown forward, at least in my opinion, right? Yeah, let me know what you think of all the different Moris. Let me know if you think I'm an idiot for not remembering this actor's name. I know him as Shaggy. I'm going to be completely honest, I can't remember his name for the life of me, and it's really getting to me. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video. The next video is going to be probably my final video on Dead by Daylight for quite a long while. It's just going to be me talking about licenses and what licenses I would want to see added to the game. That should hopefully, if everything goes well and you know nothing goes wrong, should be up tomorrow. And yeah, it will be my final video on Dead by Daylight for probably quite a long while. But yeah, anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed it or watched it up to this point. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day. And yeah, I shall see you in the next one.